Hi, and welcome to today's video where I'm going to be talking about my top 10 tips for being a productive project manager, i.e. about setting clear goals and objectives, prioritizing your tasks effectively, using project management tools to their advantage, maintaining good communication, delegating responsibilities, time management, and monitoring and adjusting your plans and being flexible collaboration. So without delay, let's crack on with the video. One of my first top tips is to be a good productive project manager would be to set clear goals and objectives. Now, when I say that, you're going to define SMART goals. Now, I've spoken this many times in many of my videos where you are setting goals where there's specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. That's really, really important because as a project manager, you need to monitor and track your activity. It's very difficult to track things. Set clear communication goals with your team. Ensure all your team members understand the project goal, their individual roles, and how they are going to achieve them. Review and adjust your goals. So regularly review and adjust your goals as needed to keep the project on track. As your projects change, things move around, the goalposts change, people think of different things. All that needs to be incorporated. So simply by setting clear, measurable goals and aligning your team to achieve them, you can ensure that your project stays focused and on course. It's clear from your perspective what people are doing, and it's really clear from your team colleagues, your stakeholders, as to what they are doing as well. Next one is prioritizing tasks effectively. Now, one of the things you must be very good at is prioritizing what needs to be done when, what's more important, and what's less important to. Eisenhower matrix is one method in which you can do decision-making tool that helps you prioritize tasks based on their urgency and importance. It divides tasks into 4 quadrants: urgent, important, not urgent, but important, urgent, but not important, and not urgent and not important. Now, those categories, if you can identify and put your actions there, it gives you good prioritization of what needs to be done and allows you to progress forward. If you work in a chaotic environment and are pushed by people saying, I need this now, is it really important? Can it wait? Those are things that you need to do. Rather than reacting, take a step back and focus on what to do and understand the importance of what needs to be doing. And finally, you really focus on high impact activity. Now, identifying the tasks that are both important and aligned with the project objectives, they are the high impact activities that should be focused on first, and they will give you the greatest impact on the success of your project. So really important that you focus on the high impact activities, but also keep in mind all the things around you. Next is use project management tools. Now, I've seen many people use different tools from the very early days using Excel all the way through MS Project. There's Kanban boards, Trello, Asana. There's huge amounts of tools out there. And with the introduction of AI now, there's even better tools such as Copilot within the Microsoft suite, which is a game changer. But again, priority here as a project manager is pick the right tool within your workplace, which you're allowed to use, that gives you the best ability to track and monitor your project. Now, whether that be in an agile environment or be in a critical path method, whatever it may be, there are tools that you should be using to help you monetize in delivering your project. Now, I've used MS Project in many of my projects historically, and I've always found it really helpful because it helps to build a structure of what's going on, understand the project, who needs to do what, when, how. I've used Trello previously on other contracts where we are doing scrum meetings in the morning and then dropping activities into Trello and saying, okay, these are what you need to do. These are Kanban board today, tomorrow, who's taking activity, and turning it from critical value, turning it around so that people are taking ownership of the activity. But as a project manager, I'm overseeing it rather than having to tell people. More of a pull rather than a push. Whereas with the critical path, you are pushing people to do stuff, which is slightly different. But the advantages of these tools are it allows you to manage your risk. It allows you to see potential delays. It allows you to see resource constraints, financial cost, It will allow you to see all those things that will help you make decisions to develop your project and move things forward. So it's really key that you use the tools that are around you. And the most important thing about these tools, it creates great visibility of what is going on. Because of that visibility, your collaboration improves, which means that people are seeing what's going on and you think about that step, and hopefully create a degree of proactive thinking within your team as well as yourself. The next skill I personally see as really important, and I think not just in project management, but in everyday life, is maintaining open communication. Now, one of the things we find a lot of project managers is that they struggle with communicating with people, saying the difficult things and saying the hard things that need to be said is really key. However, you must have mechanisms in place where you can communicate with your colleagues on a regular basis to make sure that you are getting the message across. Firstly, establish regular communication channels. Now, set up consistent and reliable communication methods with your team and stakeholders, such as daily stand-up meetings, weekly project updates, email updates, and highlight report, whether that's still used or not, whatever that may be. Have those regular intervals where people are getting updates on what's going on. Creates that communication flow, keeps things moving, and keep people informed. Next is you've got to facilitate weekly project updates. Now here I would say I do this. I like to do this whether it's in a team meeting where you give project status update and discuss up and coming milestone activities. What's happening this week? What's happening next week? What have we achieved? What haven't we achieved? What do we need to adjust? All those questions you can highlight on a weekly basis and then follow up with multiple smaller stand-ups. Now, holding daily stand-ups is a really good way of actively focusing on what needs to be done. But one thing I do find about stand-up in many organizations, that stand-ups become meetings. Now, stand-up should be conducted in a brief manner, focused on the daily meetings where team members meet at the same time. It's time blocked so that you basically say 15 minutes, we'll get around it, and it's quick, sharp, focused so that people can see what's going around their team and of trying to avoid it becoming meeting, which unfortunately in many organizations where I've tried to incorporate agile methodology, the old habit kick in and they go back into the meetings, especially really important with stand-up meetings. Make sure you keep them brief, to the point, and as a project manager, be aggressive and tell people they need to stop talking and move on. It's hard, I know, but it needs to be done so that you can get a complete picture of what's going on. Next is leverage the tools like email and instant messaging. Those are really vital tools for getting updates through and so forth. And now with the virtual world where we are working remotely more often, these tools are really valuable in making sure that everybody is updated. And creating teams, I would say instant messaging, you create your group where you are putting regular updates, and it's really valuable. But you don't have to send emails. It keeps everybody updated and allows people to be informed about what's going on. But again, communication is so key within project management. The hardest part about communication is telling people the right thing at the right time with the right amount of information. Now, over time, you will learn that skill, but ultimately, slow it down, understand what you're trying to articulate, tell them what you want, ask them how they will deliver it. Remember, take feedback from others, help you build that communication strategy. Next is to delegate responsibility. Now, as a project manager, you must understand that you cannot do everything. You have to rely on the people around you. You must delegate activities to the right people and get them to do the work. That I put my hands up to this, where sometimes I take on the ownership because I'm just frustrated. I could do quicker than other people, but that is where you start entering into dangerous territory, where you start taking ownership of more of the work and you move away from being a project manager and you move closer to actually doing the work. And that's where the danger is. So learn to delegate effectively and rely on those people to get things done. Now, unfortunately, in many organizations, you have resource constraints, so therefore the project manager wears multiple hats. Totally understood. But where possible, delegate the activities to the bright, skilled individuals so that quality of the work is of a high standard. Remember, as a project manager, you don't have all the skills to do it. prime example here is that you're trying to write some code. As a project manager, you may not have the skills, but you might have a basic understanding, but you make errors on the way, which means that the end product, it has a degree of, quality is not as fit, there's faults in there, and overall could have a negative impact on your project, which adds a level of risk, which then could impact the delivery. Relying on your people to do the work is the most important thing. However, as a project manager, your role here is, by delegating the role, is to police, to make sure that they actually are doing this and support the individuals should there be issues. So remember, delegation is very important as part of your project. Now, how do you decide who to delegate? The biggest challenge here is, who do I give this work to? And this is very much part of your initial planning stage. When you start your initial planning, you'll go through the activities, you understand who does what skill set they have. And this is where your communication, which we spoke about before, will help build that knowledge. As a project manager, say, actually, stakeholder 1 is a brilliant coder, stakeholder 2 is a junior coder, so I can give them this piece of work, give the senior one that piece of work, or they can work together and collaborate and teach each other, whatever it may be. Or you've got a business analyst that you think, okay, I need some processes written up, and they can do that work. And rather than you do it, they go away and do the work and then present it to you, and then you evaluate and assess. So your role as a project manager is to assess the overall project and understand how it all fits together and keep all the pieces moving, not to do all the work. However, try and avoid this as much as possible, because unfortunately, you will then have to let something drop, i.e. either monitoring the project, managing your stakeholders. You don't have the time to communicate. You're firefighting, trying to get things done, because you can't balance your project management responsibility against your actual doing activity. And that's where you get into a dangerous position where you start causing delays. I know it's with all good intention, you try and help people, but one of the things I have learned is delegate, let the skilled individual do the work. Yes, it may cause delay. Sometimes it causes frustration, but let them do it, take ownership, and it gives you a clear demarcation of who's responsible rather than blurring the lines. So therefore, when there are issues, you know where to go to, how to support, you know how to push things forward. Next is managing your time efficiently. Now, project manager's time is one of the things that can easily run away if not managed correctly, and you don't take control of how you structure your day. That's one of the dangers. You find that you end up doing lots of little things, but actually not getting a lot done. So being time efficient is really key. So my top tips here would be: allocate yourself some specific time blocks. Take out some time into the diary where you spend 2 hours looking over the project, looking at tasks, and put yourself in do not disturb mode. There's nothing wrong with putting your do not disturb. If there's urgency, people will pick up the phone and give you a call. You really need to spend time looking at your tasks, deep diving into your work, updating minutes, and really understanding what's going on. Next one, which I am very guilty of doing, is trying to multitask whilst focusing on one task. It's really difficult not to do that, but sometimes you need to focus and spend time on one task. Indirectly, what you will find is that you are more productive. So I'm on a meeting, I'm trying to fix an issue, somebody's messaging me, etc. Now, it's more and more likely you are going to be multitasking. However, sometimes you need to stop doing that and actually focus on the meeting, because there are important elements that you miss which cause issues down the line, which you forget, or you don't understand, or you haven't understood clearly. You haven't challenged it, you haven't questioned it because you're trying to fix something else. And unfortunately, what happens is that you, as a project manager, you disengage, and then you start losing track of where you are. Next is set clear priorities. Identify and focus on the most important tasks, and that will have the biggest impact on your project. But don't forget the little things that need to be done behind the scene. Those are really key. Set your high-level activities that need to be done. So you've got your work streams, whatever it may be, so you understand clearly what needs to happen. Then you can focus on the other stuff. But if you don't have set clear priorities, you will find that you're actually running around doing too many things at the same time and missing things. One thing I do in the morning is try to give myself 5 things that I'm going to do as part of the project day that I must focus on for today. However, those 5 things are my focus for today, and then I will adjust it as I go. And finally, review and adjust. Now, regularly review your time management plan, make necessary adjustments to improve your efficiency. Learn from others. This is a big one. Spend the first hour of your day just focusing on what needs to be done and what, then jump into your meeting, then get into your stuff. But at least have a clear strategy of what you are doing in the morning. Some people do it in the evening, the night before. When I finish, sometimes I will write a list of things for tomorrow, say, okay, this needs to be done. And then you can look at that plan and say, actually, that I've changed my priority. Next day, you'll look at it and say, something else has come up which is more important because it affects the overall timeline. Whatever it may be, you need to be flexible and adjusting your time to best suit. However, don't simply adjust your time to suit others just because they say so. This is a real difficult one because sometimes you'll get senior management who will come to you and say, I need this doing now. You need to ask the right questions. Why? What are the reasons? What's the impact? And then say, actually, if I do that, this is what the impact is. If you articulate that correctly, you could potentially get their buy-in and they will understand why you aren't doing that task as a top priority. The next one is monitor and adjust plan. Now, if you are a seasoned project manager, you've probably done this multiple times where you are constantly monitoring your project and having to adjust plans to suit. Unfortunately, that's the reality of project management. You must regularly review and actually see where you need to adjust the plan on a daily, weekly, whatever it may be on the size of the project, so that you are able to adjust the plan to get you back on track. You have to be flexible as an individual. You cannot be rigid and saying, I'm going to set the firm timeline here. I have worked with project managers who are like, no, and stakeholders who are like, no, this is the timeline. We must stick to it. If it's unrealistic, you need to be prepared to challenge it. Do not sit there and say, yes, I will deliver it when you know you're going to fail. And this is where it's really important that you monitor and adjust your plan and articulate effectively why you are adjusting your plans. It's really key that you are flexible in your approach, that you are looking at your plan and saying, actually, task A was planned for last week. Now we need to move it around because something else has come up, and you've got to keep looking at those things and understanding how you can best adjust your plan without minimal risk, without impacting timeline, but also having a positive impact on your project. And that's really key on how you do it. And the best thing one of my techniques is I spend the Monday, I'll go in and say, okay, let me have a look at my plan, what I'm doing. And then I'll look at all the activities and say, okay, those things. And then at the end, I'll look and reevaluate where I was and what I've achieved, what I haven't achieved, and then adjust the plan. So I've got to create a timeline of what's happening now. Sometimes I have to do this on a daily basis. So I'd spend 15-20 minutes just going over it, saying, okay, something's come up today because we've had 3-4 staff not turn up, whatever it may be. We've not been able to do the work. That's now added 2 days worth of extra work. What impact does that have on my overall project? And then adjust the plan to say, okay, do I need more resource? Can I get more people in? Whatever it may be, you need to monitor your overall task and constantly review where things are going. If you are doing the work and not project managing, this part becomes very difficult. So remember, always wear your project manager hat and monitor and adjust plans rather than actually doing the work, so that you get the right people doing the work within your project rather than you trying to facilitate the doing for your team. Next tip I have is for you and a project manager is to engage with your people and foster a collaborative environment. When I say collaborative, this is where you are encouraging people to challenge you, to question you, and encouraging people to input effectively into helping you solve problems. The biggest challenge you will have is that you are making decisions on your knowledge alone and not supported by the people around you. And don't forget that you are not to know everything. It's the people around you that have the knowledge and that recognize, have the ability to move the project forward. Remember, I always say this in many of my videos, you are only as good as the people around you. And those people, if you can foster that collaboration, bring them together and get them to discuss and problem solve together and be confident in challenging you, then you will find that you will be able to move your project forward, that you will be able to drive the project forward. And I've done this on a previous project where I worked, where I had a team of 15 Initially, when we started, they were very nervous about challenging me. However, as you build that rapport and that relationship with those people, you will find that they will come to the table giving you critical information that will help you make decisions. And that's where collaborative thinking with your team colleague is really important. Most importantly, what it does, it boosts morale, it motivates your team, and it inspires your team to continue delivering and provide exceptional work. Overall, the positivity of this element is so key that you will find that your team will come together. When a crisis hits, everybody jumps in and they all support each other. It was really hard, and what should have taken me weeks to get that collaboration back took me months to get a team. And those months were lots of time wasted, lots of walls to break down, and lots of delays that were added to the project. So remember, if you can create that or foster a collaborative environment within your team, this is the most important skill, because it doesn't matter where you shortfall. If you get your colleagues on board, they will support you through the whole journey and you will have a successful project. Yes, you will have bumps along the way, but your team will support you to get you through those bumps and make sure you get over that line. My next tip to be an effective project manager is really about yourself. Now, one of the things I do, and these are the top 4 things I do. Firstly, I keep my workspace tidy. One of the things I find is I can't cope with mess. I like things organized. I like things put in their place. And by doing that, it creates a tidy environment, which helps me process information. And that's how I work. But one of the tips I would give is organize your desk environment. Be comfortable where you are, and so you know where things are, and you are keeping your workplace or workspace tidy. And then next thing I always find is organize your digital file. And any project manager will know the amount of documentation you get and information you get is huge. Make sure you organize that effectively and put it in a structured environment so that anybody can reference it, that anybody can understand it. You know where it is and you know where to go. So like in a RAID log, project initiation document, for example, label those correctly in the folder structure. One of my previous employments, we always had the top tier project the same across every project. Everybody knew where things were and where to go. So you knew where your pit was, where your RAID log was. You knew where all your communication was from teams, all your technical information was. And that structure meant that anybody could transfer their project from person to person, allowed for you to think very quickly and know where to go. Once you know where to go, it will find that you find things more efficiently and it causes delay. But remember, one thing is not store it in your email. Take out your email and file it effectively. Now, you may not just use a SharePoint, you may use Kanban, you may use other collaboration tools. There's huge element of tools out there that you can use, but whatever it may be, use those tools to your advantage to organize your file structure. Next thing, use checklists. Now, I use them all the time. Like I said earlier, I spend the morning writing down a whole list of things that I'm going to focus on, checklist of things I'm going to do. And I use OneNote is one of the tools I use, which I put everything on, and I use that structure to keep track of everything. And with AI now kicking in, I've used AI on customer, on meeting, which allows me to track activity. And with Copilot now kicking in, it's a game changer if you've got that within your organization, because it helps you organize your task, understand what's been done, and highlights key things. So those are tools out there that can help you to create those checklists. And then finally, track your tasks and deadlines. This is really important. One of the things I do is constantly try and track where we are. Where you have a structured plan or mechanism, is try and plan that. Sometimes you have to go with the flow, so keep that planning for your tasks and deadlines and keep tracking those is really key. The final tip is continuous learning. Now, when I say continuous learning, this is one of the most important tips I could give you as a project manager, is go out there and learn from others. Continually try to improve, do things better. I'm in the contract now. I'm constantly learning new stuff. I'm seeing how it shouldn't be done. I've also seen how there are other ways of doing things. Actually seeing, oh, that document set looks really good. I'm going to embrace that. I like that. Take that and add that into your fold. I'm embracing new technology. There's lots of AI tools at the moment, which I'm finding, which are really important. Using those to further enhance your ability as a product manager is key. Learning from others, saying, actually, I don't agree with what you're doing. I think this is the way you should be doing it. Don't take it personal. These are all learning opportunities that you should take on. Embrace new methodology, new technology, take your feedback. Be a sponge is what I say, is absorb that information from others. Doesn't matter whether it's positive, negative, whatever it is, bring it all in and assess and say, okay, I'm not doing this right. I've learned to adapt to every one of my customers and learned new ways of doing things, adapted my reporting, adapted my communication. I've had to learn that through every environment I've gone into, and for me, it's been a massive benefit because I've been able to adjust things. I've been able to drive the project better. I've been able to get buy-in from my stakeholders better because they like certain things. Every organization has their quirky ways of doing things. You as an individual need to adjust and bring that into the fold. And I've always found that if you don't do this, you will become the little outsider of this little bubble, which then people say, actually, you're not quite as good as they want. Your skill might be really good, but the perception, people will perceive you as not being good. And that's not a position you want to be in. So don't forget, always learn, always focus on adding more tools to your toolkit and taking input from others, positive or negative. That concludes today's video, and thank you for listening. If you found this helpful, please click on the like button and subscribe